All right, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council for August 28th, 2017. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Deuce.
Present.
Jameson.
Here.
Toussaint.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here.
And
Mr. Zimmerman was
Zimmerman
planned
is
out, wasn't
absent.
going to be here this evening. Would you please stand with me for the pledge? Please hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager's report.
Just one quick note, and that's in following on employees' anniversaries. Your Administrative Services Director, Sandra Featherson, has celebrated her 5-year anniversary here with the city. She's watching in her office, so.
There she,
Oh, she's back there now.
Congratulations, and time flies. 5 years already, that's amazing. With that, we'll go
Mr. Mayor, could I break in just a moment
Sure,
here?
you may.
As some of you know,
There's a delay back there.
is that delayed or what?
Yeah.
Okay. We lost our house a few months ago, and we've been up in Santa Maria, staying in a motel, trying to figure out what to do. So a few days ago, we had the opportunity to lease a condo up there, and with that, rather than making a public spectacle out of things, which I believe there are people that wish to do, I'm submitting my resignation, effective immediately. And I will go straight into, I will finish my comments from the podium, since I'm no longer on this council.
Is there any way we can not accept his resignation?
Short answers can be no. It's up to the voters to put a council member in, and it's up to the council, or I'm sorry, to the council member or the voters to remove a council member from office. But the council does not have the power.
To keep her?
I'm afraid not.
Thank you. This is heartbreaking.
I'm sorry, Jim. I still have my time. Lisa, please don't turn the clock on for
okay.
me.
All right. You're currently as soon as you walk out the door, you're no longer a council person. But right now you can speak.
No, I resigned my seat as when I made the announcement. But I'm going to ask for your indulgence for a few minutes here.
You better take your time.
First of all, I want to say that I have enjoyed very much the past almost 9 years. The various council members. It's it's been great. It's been great sitting up here with you guys. Yes, Joni, especially you. Now, somebody's going to have to watch the water with her. See, that was my job. She kind of slops around a little bit, so somebody's going to have to take care of the water for Joni. This is not an easy decision, not for myself or for Carla, and we've bounced back and forth on this. But it's the right thing to do. I understand domicile and that whole theory very well. And when we were temporarily out, our plans were to move back. But it has to be the right way. It has to be affordable. And we can't live in a motel forever. I've got a lot of Marriott points, but not that many. And I do want to keep some of them for a Hawaii vacation. So yeah, I've got enough left for that. So it's the right thing to do for us. It's the right thing to do for the council. It's the right thing to do for the city, because we are no longer temporary. We signed up. We put our names on the line. And we now have a Santa Maria address, so this is the right thing to do. This is my hometown. Born and raised here. And hopefully come back here to die someday. You're not getting rid of me that easy. But this is a special town. If we look back at the beginning of it, this group of settlers, these Danes, the Danish-American company, that purchased almost 9,000 acres of Rancho San Carlos de Honata. You guys know where Honata came from? That was Shumash Village, up the canyon, right at 154 and 101. The name of that village was Honata. That's where Honata comes from. But the Danes came here for several reasons. One, to have a West Coast colony. Two, to continue the work of the Danish folk schools that originated in Denmark. And then, of course, to, a lot of them were for the Midwest, come out here for some sunshine. They were industrious people. They wanted to grow out here. They wanted to grow a town. And they wanted a place where they could flourish. They wanted their kids to have opportunities and their grandkids. And we're seeing that today. That third, fourth generations are now involved in this town, this city. But be careful. It's becoming difficult. Some of the older families, yeah, they have the money, they have the property, but you need to look at affordability. You don't want the town to go away because it becomes a retirement community, and it will. You have to keep the young families in here. You have to keep your middle class in here. That's important. And a family making $120,000 a year are going to be hard pushed to stay here. So take a serious look at that. There are other issues that I'm not going to belabor you with. You know them. But I want to talk about some accomplishments that we have done. One is Measure Z. That sales tax increase. I don't know what the total is now, but I think we are finally approaching covering the debt that past councils made over frivolous lawsuits, trying to undo something that they couldn't. I think we've almost covered that debt through Measure Z. Quite an accomplishment. You have something on the agenda tonight for music in the park. That's another thing that I've seen happen, is we've got music in this town. We're not rolling up the sidewalks. There's something to do after 5 o'clock. There's entertainment. It's wonderful. The city has needed that. And I guess I kind of forgot the last thing that I was going to talk about. But anyway, it has really been a pleasure. And I'm going to miss you guys, but I'll watch you on the big screen. And I'll be around. So, thank you, and good night.
Before you leave, you have to hear some comments. Do you have anything to say, Joni? Well, I have something to say. It's been an honor working with you. You've been behind some of the brightest things that's happened on this council. I sit next to you, and sometimes I'm amazed at what comes out of your mouth. It's so smart, so intelligent, so articulate that it just shocks me at times. You know, God bless you, you're a blacksmith and a wonderful blacksmith, but you don't expect blacksmiths to come out with this kind of vocabulary that you have. And the case at point is the article you wrote about your other blacksmith friend in the paper the other day. It's fantastic. I, for one, am going to miss you, and I'm sorry that you have to go through this situation. You know, it's a darn shame because you've been a good councilman. You're a good citizen, and I've enjoyed knowing you, and I hope we don't lose contact.
You won't get rid of me that easy, Jim. But I'm just going to tell you, you don't have to reserve a seat for me down here. I'm not going to be sitting here.
Okay.
But you'll get calls from my area once in a while.
That's good. We need that.
Well, I don't know who's going to pour my water now, but I'll survive. I've always appreciated your thought process. I've always appreciated bouncing things off you, and we've been kind of laugh about some of the things that were happening in the city. And I'm assuming that Carla is also going to resign, and I think she's been a wonderful asset to the BAR. And Measure Z, go girl. I mean, that was our baby, and we made it happen. I don't know what else to say. You know how I feel.
Thanks, Joni.
Thank you.
Sorry to see you go. I think my biggest thing that I love about having you up here was the important transitional phase that's going on with the millennials starting to come up here. We don't have the history that could ever compare to what you have, so that's really important. And I'd always appreciate you writing in or anything like that, so I can understand better maybe something that has a little more of a historical aspect to it, so I can be more sensitive to it.
Oh, hey, Jim, I forgot my briefcase. You want to, as you're coming down, you want to get it for me?
to be your porter now.
Yeah. Would you bring it down for me, son?
Sure. You want this too?
No, that's closed session. I don't need it. Oh, one thing. Did I remember to talk about staff? No. I'm taking my time back again. The staff in this city is incredible. Amen. Yes. It's going to be hard to say goodbye to everybody. I would like to come in, if at all possible, Brad, Wednesday morning about 8 o'clock. And if I would, there are a lot of people I'd like to see. Is there any way that we could assemble some, and not just the upper echelons, as many as you can get of the whole bunch of them, because I would like to talk to all of them. And, staff makes our job so easy. They really do. They're professional, they're right on. It's what we pay them for, but they do a damn good job. And it makes us people up here at the podium look good. That goes on to other groups within this city here. The Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce. They're the ones that make it all work. They're the ones that are bringing in this tax money that we get to spend and keep the services going. That's what it's all about. So, anyway, adios.
personal comment. That's a great loss to the city. David, what's our plans now?
There's a council protocol, I believe, and then there's the government code. Council protocol, if I recall correctly, is to offer the position to the next highest vote getter in the last election. There are also provisions under the government code regarding the time that the council has for appointment. What I would suggest is go ahead and put an item on the next agenda to discuss this.
Next agenda item? Next agenda, okay. That came as a shock.
May I make a comment about that, please? If we put it on the next agenda, that's 2 weeks, and then it's going to take us another 2 weeks to appoint or do whatever we're going to do.
There's a way that you can put it on tonight's agenda by...
But there are only 3 of us. Can we still do it?
It has to be unanimous. The way you do it is you need to make a finding that the matter came to the attention of the council after the agenda was posted. I think that can be made very clearly. If there's need to take immediate action, and then you would have to have a supermajority vote. In this case, it would have to be unanimous. Then it would be added to the agenda. You would be able to discuss it as a regular agenda item.
Okay, I'd like to make that motion. And it's not appointing somebody. It's discussing how we're going to go about it and putting it.
Okay.
We're not appointing tonight.
Right.
Because we don't even know if
No, I
anybody's,
just
if anybody's
my head around how this
interested.
works.
Right.
Do I need to allow public comment on this particular motion? All right.
We need a second to the motion.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. Before we take a vote, does anybody wish to make a comment on this motion to consider replacement of a Councilman Deuce?
It's considering adding an item to the agenda at this point, and then you'll be able to discuss it and take public comment on the substance of it. It's just the item being added to the agenda at this point.
That's our motion. Does anybody wish to speak to it? Fred?
Yes, I came here, Fred Koval, Solvang. I did come here prepared tonight to add some information to resigning. And what was not answered tonight is, since Hans left the 19th of July, he's voted in a number of agenda items.
Fred, that's not pertain. That doesn't pertain to this motion.
Well,
the motion is for us to consider.
I'm leading up to that. I'm leading up to that, Mayor.
Okay,
give me some time here, will you, please?
All right.
Don't prejudge me. Thank you. All right. So, the important issue here is that we are moving here rapidly for some reason, which nobody has really explained what that reason was, why this has to be put on the agenda tonight to discuss even. There's no merit whatsoever in that thinking. This needs to be thought about orderly, and what are all of the options. And it needs to have not just you three, but everybody at the City Council needs to be here to be properly informed to help make a proper judgment. Hurry up is not what needs to be accomplished here tonight. Everybody needs all of the background to this, and you're not affording it to all of the City Council members.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak, make a comment on this motion? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for a vote.
Can you repeat the motion?
Motion made by Councilmember Jameson to consider how to handle the replacement of Councilmember Deuce. To be added to the agenda. Right.
Right now.
There are protocols to discuss. We just need to discuss the protocol. We're not going to take any action to replace him this evening. We're going to talk about the actions we can take.
But we're going to decide on the action that we're going to take to replace? Like, are we going to decide whether, like tonight, we will set policy that we will...
Yes, it is, Fred. Please don't speak from the audience.
So are we deciding whether we're going to appoint somebody by voting them in, running a special election, or?
This particular item is, do you want to add it to the agenda? If you add it to the agenda, you can have a discussion about it. You may come to some resolution, or you may not.
Got it. Okay.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Jameson,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Toussaint,
Yes.
And that passed with a 3-0, 2 absent. One absent. One absent, one resigned, yes. With that, then we'll add that as item 9 on the agenda. Sorry about that. I have to extend the meeting for you.
Oh. Hey, I voted for it.
All right, on to council member comments and, public comments, written or verbal. I have a stack of comment sheets, of public sheets. Lynn Swenson, followed by Curtis. I'm sorry, Curtis. Go ahead.
I am Lynn Swenson. I am the Teamster representative, area coordinator, and I'm sure all the council knows that we are in negotiations and have reached impasse in moving that direction. And, I was going to come up here and be so dramatic that, you would remember me forever, but with, the council member resigning, it's like, even though I don't come to council meetings, I've been on boards, I've been on councils, and, a surprise like that really does set a little bit different tone. But I did want to introduce myself and be a little more familiar with the council, because we may have more public comment sessions where members may come forward and want to share their thoughts with you with our current negotiations and impasse. But I certainly do appreciate the public service that all of you have done. Of course, there are one vacated position and one council member missing here tonight, but Mayor, I certainly do appreciate your public service. And, your staff, the vacating council member did comment on how great the staff is, and certainly Brad and Sandra have been very good to work with, and I am looking forward to working with the council and your attorney and moving forward through the process. But I did want to just address the council, introduce myself, and thank you for your public service. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Christy Jenners. Did I pronounce that right, Chris? I didn't, did I? I can't, can I blame it on your scrawl?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's Diernes. Think of the J like an I or a Y. It's actually Norwegian, so it'd be Diernes.
Well, you're still welcome to our Danish town.
We came a long way just to be here with you guys. Thank you, council members. I have to say I really appreciate the commitment and the long hours of work that you guys put in, making the hard choices for the benefit of the city. And I especially appreciate Hans Deuce's service. I know he's very passionate about serving Solvang, and he was a tremendous steward for the city of Solvang. The comments that I wanted to make really pertain to some of the unfunded mandates that you guys are dealing with. This is in keeping with this theme of hard choices, because after sitting last week and watching you guys wrestle with the stormwater management issue, I thought, oh, good grief, that's not an easy choice to make. And at the same time, there's another 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that's the CalPERS unfunded mandate. I call it an unfunded mandate. They call it an unfunded liability, but it's a similar situation. And it's my understanding that the city of Solvang, at least a presentation was made earlier, a couple of sessions ago, I think they're dealing with something like a $4 to $5 million unfunded liability, a current unfunded liability, and that potentially could reach up to $20 million if they were to try and deal with it all at once. And that was at a discount rate of 7.5% return on investment. And CalPERS has never done that. I take that back. Maybe they did 20 years ago. But the last 10 years, the average has been only 5%, which suggests that unfunded liability or unfunded mandate is closer to $75 to $100 million. And that begs the question, how is Solvang going to deal with that problem? again, I don't envy you these choices. I know it's going to be brutal. And there's, as a matter of perspective, I guess you could look at the situation that Lompoc's dealing with right now. In fact, a couple articles suggested that they're dealing with a $70 million, their unfunded liability is $70 million, not 20, but 70. And it's going to get worse as they move that discount rate from 7.5 down to a more realistic 5%. It's going to hit everybody. So, and then of course you have to add things like raising employee compensation and benefits. Again, these are not, I was looking at other presentations you guys are dealing with. I'm an economist and a financial guy myself, so I always like to look at budgets and numbers, and from that I can tell the trajectory of a company or the trajectory of a city, because I also work with a lot of cities. And this isn't pretty. So I look forward to hearing more about how you plan to tackle this, some of the solutions that you guys are dealing with. And again, my heart goes out to you and also to Hans Adus. Maybe that's why he resigned. Anyway, I do appreciate your time. And again, the name is Diernes, and it actually means iron point in Norwegian. So
Good to meet you, Chris. Thanks for being here. Fred Koval? Fred Koval, Solvang.
I just want to journey back a little bit for this last month as to how this thing all occurred with Deuce resigning. We all know that he did do a lot of good. I had a lot of discussions with him over the years about water, about injection. When he had his business over on Alisell Road, I spent hours with him discussing all of the possibilities. All the extra wells that have been put in this city, ones that maybe we have forgotten about, like on Lot 71. I don't think anybody here knows where that well is. And the city has strived really hard through lots of city council members. And the question is, are we better off today than we were in 1985? All of the directions that we've been jerked over one simple thing: state water. And we're no closer today, although I would say that just since the new members are on the dais, that it's been significant in the advancement of what can we do for this valley to survive. Now we've heard tonight about how is this city going to survive? Councilmember Deuce says $120,000 income to live here. And now we're up to 5,600 people, if I read the latest Santa Barbara News Press correctly. So what steps is the current city council taking for survivability, for the residents as well as for the city? What steps is the staff taking to encourage you to look in a different direction? I also want to comment briefly about what I thought was a mistaken city attorney arguments that were made at the last meeting. And that was that franchise tax board rules were provided as an argument. So that bothered me, and I researched it, and I looked at it, and I found a California government code even better than the last one that I presented. And that was Code 36502. And that code right in the first sentence unequivocally says that it's not what's in your mind for domicile, as in the franchise tax board code. But what have you physically done? 36502.
Thank you, Fred. Tracy Beard.
Hi, I just wanted to share with you the marketing plan for the Solvang Chamber of Commerce. We have a few things that are running this next 2 weeks, and we wanted to share with the City Council and with our community. We have a 4-page spread coming out this week through the Central Coast on the throughout Santa Barbara and the Valley and up north. We are sharing our community, our business community, featuring the Solvang Shoe Store, Copenhagen House, and the Olive Press, which is a new business, and our Third Wednesday program. So that'll be a 4-page spread article. We gave you a little bit on our Scarecrow Fest, which will be going out. So we are doing a Scarecrow Fest this year again, and we're doing a huge marketing campaign for 3 months on KEYT for the Central Coast for a retail destination for the month of October. We are doing Halloween, celebrating the harvest activities, promoting the safe community of bringing the family, and we're running that from September 30th to October 31st. November, we are doing a campaign for Solvang Retail Destination for the Central Coast, Walk, Shop, Wine, and Dine, Play in Solvang. And the month of December will be our Shop, Mingle, Jingle campaign, October 24th through December 31st. And so we've given you a little sharing of what we're doing with the collateral product. So this is the collateral product on both sides we've given to all of you. You can see that. And then our other thing is our media kit. We are going out. We have decided this year that last year was our business history. This year, why are we Solvang? We're doing our architectural history in business. Why are we the way we are, and why are we Danish? So that'll be what our new business relocation guide will be for 2018. And our media campaign will start there on September 7th. So we wanted to let everyone know that we would have salespeople out there and doing. And the Chamber has lost Susie, and we have some new salespeople and new people out hiring. So we do have a new staff that is supporting the Chamber, and we feel very successful in our future.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you for your work. It's been a real benefit to the city. Thank you very much. Brian Cheney.
Evening, Mayor, Council. It's that monthly San Luis Reservoir report again. This year, last time, it was 170 feet down, and now it's only 15 feet down. So we've really come up. We had a little incident at Nielsen's Market the other day. And Miss Jameson's husband accused me of always tearing down the council, never helping him out, never doing anything. It was just, he thought it was just horrible. And apparently, I guess he and she both agree they understand the same thing. So I was looking at a few little things, and believe it or not, I've had 52 years of service in here, from putting out flag standards from the Boy Scouts to 9 years on the Planning Commission, the BAR, 10 years of helping Craig Martin out with different bids for different things for the city of Solvang, 15 years on pheasant hunts for junior pheasant shooters in the San Ynez Valley, 10 years of putting up bleachers for Danish Days. Let's see, I don't know, probably missed a few others. But, you know, I went and apologized at Nielsen's Market for the action, and I don't know what this panel would like to do about it. I'm an appointed position as a planning commissioner, and I'm not quite sure if anybody wants to do anything about it. That's fine. But I would suggest that Mr. Jameson apologize to the Nielsen Market, Rodney Nielsen and his staff. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Brian. Peter Hawes?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Peter Hawes. I'm a 21-year Solvang resident, and I'm also representing Santa Ynez High School tonight. We, for the past many years, have really enjoyed holding our homecoming parade on Copenhagen, and we're doing something different, something bigger this year with homecoming. We have decided to channel all the resources, all the time and energy and efforts that have previously been used for our luau dance, and we're channeling them into a new and expanded homecoming event. We're really excited about it. Our strategic plan for the district has focused in on connecting our students with the community. So along with those plans of expanding homecoming, we are very interested in enlarging the parade, making it bigger. And we promise that we'll talk to the students and everyone else about keeping the streets clean and supporting the local businesses. We love holding the parade on Copenhagen. It's a great event, but we want it to be bigger. We would like to have community organizations, charity organizations, community members of all kinds, including the city of Solvang, and its leaders to potentially be involved in the parade, have a float, get in a car, and celebrate our community with us. So we're really excited about this. We're even talking about the possibility of having a carnival kind of event out in Solvang Park afterward with some, the FFA and other kinds of groups from the school selling food and those kinds of things, possibly having some music. But we're really excited about our expanded homecoming. We love the city of Solvang, and we love having our parade there, and we would genuinely, humbly appreciate the city's support of expanding the length of the parade, more entries, possibly to shut down the whole community and celebrate our school, its alumni, and our community. Thank you very much.
Mr. Haas, what's the date?
It is in October.
Good.
Just a moment. The parade will be Friday, October 13th at 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Play that night.
Who are we playing that night? Oh, my goodness.
That's not to put you on the spot, Peter.
I want to say Cabrillo. But it's going to be a big night. One of the slogans that sometimes the football team uses is to shut down the town. We appreciate all the flags that are allowed to be put up in the city on those Friday nights of home games. We love our school. We love Solvang. We love the Santa Ynez Valley. And we truly appreciate all the work and the efforts that you do for our city in making it such a great place.
Have you talked with Tracy Beard?
I have not.
She's right there.
I've spoken with the
Tracy Farhad?
With Deputy Charlie. We talked a little bit about it, and he suggested I come here and talk to you, of course, very respectfully, and he's a great community asset here in Solvang. So who do I need to talk to?
Tracy Beard, right back there. See her hand?
Wonderful.
She's the executive director for the chamber, and she's got connections.
Fantastic.
She might be able to help you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Mr. Haas, I hope you didn't use up all your points on Friday night.
Oh, I think there's plenty of points still to be.
That was unbelievable. The most points ever scored by a pirate team.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, you learned something tonight.
It was an exciting game.
It was good.
It was great. And it went very late. Gosh.
Long game.
Long game. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
C.J. Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, council members, oh, to live in interesting times. I may rethink my remarks a little bit here. I'm going to give you a little history of something that has been a burr under my saddle but on a night like this, I'm going to try and keep it light and somewhat humorous if I can. In 2015, I undertook a small project on behalf of the Alisal Ranch. I'm C.J. Jackson, and today I am here on behalf of the Alisal Ranch. Feeling the pressure and sinister portents of El Nino in 2015, I sought to clear out Alisal Creek as it goes through the Alisal Ranch. If you may remember, in 2005, we had a flood event that claimed large portions of the golf course, and up until that time, the notion of clearing and removing debris that had built up in that time cast a pall from an environmental perspective that you dare not mess around in a creek bed or injure habitat, etc. So then we looked at the other side of that equation. We had a flood event that did significant damage, so we applied for an emergency permit to do the repair and a streambed alteration permit to do that. And 2.5 years later, we got it. So in 2015, I said, I don't want to do that again. It was expensive, it was ludicrous, it was ridiculous. So I asked the county, how can I clear debris, both horizontal and dead, etc.? They said, well, as long as you don't put any equipment in the creek bed, you can have it cut and haul it out by hand. That's an expensive, labor-intensive process, but I did so. And as you may recall, I scared El Nino away because it did not show up that year. And I endured, shall we say, a little bit of kidding, etc., because El Nino didn't show up. However, in a La Nina year, last year, I got my revenge, if you will, because Alisal Creek reached 6 inches below crest for a period of 3.5 hours during the peak. And we had no damage, and the water went through and made it to the river, and I'm here to say that it worked. I did the same on the river course and was very pleased to undertake, even under the same rubric, of clearing under the guidelines that the county permitted without having to seek a permit and wait. And the water came through to a point. However, at the end of this storm, or actually midway through at the river course, we had an enormous amount of debris. Now, it wasn't like in 1995 where washing machines and dishwashers and 1,000 tennis balls, not to mention a host of other various implements, made their way through our property and enriched our vista for the short period of time that they were there. But during those years, somebody on behalf of the city, on behalf of the county, inspected the creek beds and presumed that they were cleared, much as you had in your discussion at your last meeting, which caught my attention. I was having trouble sleeping, so I decided to take in your last meeting. And in listening to that, I realized that you have contracted for the county to undertake a review of the stream beds. I'm going to give you a little vista from my point. They're not ready for a Nino event right now. And we paid $17,000 to remove the debris that came to our first hole there. And you can imagine I winced a little because that was about 1/8 of what we paid to take care of Alisal Creek. And we thought we'd done our homework and we'd done our level best. What made that aspect frustrating is I notified neighbors to my north that they've got an issue there. And I think they dutifully cut the branches. However, when you cut the branches, it does no one any good to put the branches back in the creek bed after they've been cut. And if you came to our crosswalk at the first hole, you would have seen beautifully cut branches serving as a tremendous barrier to the water, which created the mess, which started to erode the creek around there, and it was what I had to indulge in to get cleaned up. Now, I tell you this story as lightly as I can because I saw a tarantula cross my path already in August. That tells me if we have a wet year, and I know I'm running out of time and I'm almost done, but I would undertake to advise you that residents or somebody need to examine whether it's better to pay at the end of a crisis caused by failing to address the drainage or deal with it now. And I would suggest that perhaps while the county is doing their review, perhaps somebody from the city can also take a peek and be assured that whatever work is done will be up to the crisis you potentially could face, as you did in 95, 98, and 05, and potentially again. So I ask, because I'm going to be somewhat more reluctant to be as neighborly if someone else's lack of effort damages me at the back end of the line there. So I bring that to your attention humbly, that you could speak to your residents and to everyone, perhaps to inquire of our environmental community if there are ways to get things done, because all that habitat gets scoured the heck out during these events.
Thank you, CJ. That was wonderful. I have no other speaker slips. Does anyone else wish to speak at this time? General in the public comment period. Seeing none, we'll go on with the agenda. Council comments and requests. Is there anything you wish to discuss?
Well, I guess in regards to CJ Jackson's comment, is there anything the city can do, like notice all the neighbors along the creek or something to educate them?
Yeah, CJ had been in to talk to me, and we can definitely do something like that. Obviously, it's still up to the property owner then to do that. But yeah, we can send out notices on that.
Ms. Jameson?
Oh, yeah. In closed session tonight, we're supposed to be speaking about the purchase of a piece of property. And there's another piece of property that's been brought to my attention that is being offered to the city. And I would like to have that piece of property also discussed sometime, just as a courtesy to the person who has offered the property.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you walked that property?
Have I walked the, oh, yeah.
Have you? So
Oh, yeah.
you understand the position
Oh, yeah,
of it?
but I
again?
still think we should provide the courtesy of saying yes or no.
How would we go about that? Do we need to have an agenda item? Do we just
Yeah, I think what she's asking for is an agenda item
Will you
to
ask for agenda item?
discuss if staff should do any work towards that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so put that on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
So would we discuss both properties in the next one, or this would just be
That one isn't eligible for closed session because you haven't decided on any action to purchase or not purchase.
Okay.
The city of Solvang is going to sponsor Special Olympics in our recreation department, and the recreation department tells me that they're interested in volunteers that know how to work with these Special Olympics athletes. And so if anybody is interested, anybody that hears me about that, please contact the folks over at the recreation department. They're looking to start the program in the springtime, and are looking for venues and for people who are capable of working with these athletes, and also to train and bring them up to speed in working with them. And along those same lines, I've just received a letter that the Special Olympics is going to have a northern Santa Barbara County Olympics on October the 14th at Hagerman Sports Complex in Santa Maria. So if anybody is interested in watching that, please attend. It's important to the city to participate. You'll notice we have a flag that we participated in the Olympic Games last year.
May I make a comment about that? I was very involved with that when we housed them out at Dunn School, and they are delightful, and some of them are unbelievable athletes. So it would be really great if we all could get behind this, what we're doing in Parks and Rec. That would be a wonderful outreach, I think.
Thank you. Correspondence received by the council. We have none. Approval of the agenda as presented. We've modified the agenda by adding an agenda item. Is there any other changes you'd like to make? Seeing none, we'll go on to the next. The council minutes of August 14th, is there any corrections, deletions, or a modification to those by anybody? If not,
I just have one comment. When I was asking about cigarette butts and having a receptacles for those, I also had mentioned that when the trash is picked up, that sometimes the truck blocks the parking areas. So if we could just include that in the minutes and have somebody address that. Thank you.
can I have a
Didn't make the
motion?
minutes, but it did get addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion with those changes, please?
I so move.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
I'm sorry, I'm
All
still
those
in a fog.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed. 3-1-0. 3-0-0. Consent agenda. All we have on the consent agenda is the sheriff's report. Does anybody wish to talk
I have a
about
couple of questions about that. Is he here? No, he's not here.
Actually, both of them are on vacation this week, so.
Oh, so
yeah.
lucky. Okay, I would just like to pass on a question. There have been a number of robberies in the San Ynez Valley during the summer, and I think it's kind of gotten out of hand, and I would like to hear something about that. And also car thefts in the San Ynez Valley are way up. So I would just like to understand what is going on.
I can speak to part of that. Abeltoft neighborhood off of Chalk Hill,
Yes.
that's where the problem centers. And
Well,
the,
actually, Village out in where the condos are, they had some cars stolen there, too.
well, the sheriff met with the neighbors in that area a couple of weeks ago and explained and discussed the problem with them. And the upshot of the problem is legal, and you just have to keep your eyes open. And he's recommending taking all the standard precautions around your property, of protecting your property, locking your cars, keeping the houses closed up, and that sort of thing. But he's on top of it, on top of that particular instance, I know.
Okay, have they found anybody? Have they arrested anybody?
They have a suspect, but they can't prove anything.
Well, I think it's
They're
more
working-
than one person that's doing all of this.
That's true. Just up in that Abeltoft neighborhood, that's where they have a suspect. So with the consent agenda, can I have a motion accepting the consent agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Pass. On to the regular agenda, item number 7.
Item 7, solid waste contract.
Staff report?
Mr. Mayor and remaining members of the council. The current contract for exclusive solid waste recyclables and organic collection and transportation to disposal and processing facilities and organic site expires on June 30th of 2018. Waste Management, also operating as Health Sanitation Services, has been the city's franchise provider since 1988 under a series of agreements and various amendments. The contract does provide for 4-year extensions, which you've done the last couple of increments of 4 years, and that is in accordance with that document. So an exclusive franchise agreement allows an operator to be the sole provider of service within a jurisdiction in exchange for a franchise fee to be paid to the jurisdiction. Our current fee is 4% of the collector's gross receipts, which equates to about $60,000 a year in revenue for the city. We have also established a 6% program fee on customer rates as part of the contract, and that fee was established in accordance with the franchise agreement to reimburse the city its cost of administering the agreement as necessary to protect public health and welfare and comply with applicable law, including AB 939, diversion programs, and of maintaining, repairing, and replacing city infrastructure, including streets impacted by services. In October of 2008, the City Council voted to use those program fees that were previously going to Santa Barbara County to help offset the cost incurred by HSS for the handling of the 6 community recycling stations that we have throughout the city, which are mainly used by the businesses for their cardboard recycling. Staff did poll some other jurisdictions to give you an idea of what other jurisdictions are getting in franchise fees, and as you can see from the table, Solvang is the lowest, has the lowest franchise fee in the Central Coast area at 4%. The highest is Guadalupe at 12.5. The City of Solvang also has an integrated solid waste management services agreement with the County of Santa Barbara, and the county is responsible for providing community program services and regional planning program services related to our solid waste handling services. That agreement was amended in 2008 and requires an 18-month notice of cancellation. In exchange for doing that work, the county gets the net return from the process of our recyclable materials. I did do a little quick review of the monthly reports that we do get from Waste Management, and there has been an average. They're required to report missed pickups, late complaints, all their tonnage and those types of things, and there has been about an average of 15 in a year of complaints in the last 3 years. So staff is requesting that the city discuss options related to the solid waste service agreement and provide direction to staff. Based on that direction, staff would act accordingly and return with the necessary documents to achieve further action. One thing to note, though, is either with an extension or a new contract, you'd want to deal with the Tahigas landfill, because the city did enter into an agreement with the county and Goleta and City of Santa Barbara to put our waste there as part of the convergent technology project. So we would have to get that into the new agreement. So I did list out some potential alternatives for you. One would be to extend the current agreement for 4 years, which is allowed per the term, and we would, if that's selected, staff would bring that back. You'd have some time to do that. You could extend the contract for 1 year, which is another allowable option for you. And in doing that, you may want to reach out and see if there's different things that the community or business owners may want in the collection process. 3 would be to develop a request for proposals for solid waste services for the city and receive competitive bids for the services. And if you do that, that's going to take some time, so staff would come back to you with options for what you'd like to see and potential changes to your franchise agreement. And then 4 would be just to negotiate enhancements or rate adjustments to the existing agreement with the current operator. With any of those options that you may want to do a change, you may want to recommend that you create an ad hoc subcommittee to sort of work with staff on refining what you might want to see in a new annual franchise agreement. So those are the layout. We do this, I guess, every 4 years. If we don't do the extension, we do request some direction on what you'd like us to do with that franchise agreement. We try to get out ahead of it, so it's about 10 months from now that contract will expire, but it'll take some time to develop an RFP if you do choose that option. So that's the staff report. As I said, there's no financial impact with this particular staff report. We get about it looks like we got $62,800 with our 4% fee last year. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions of staff report? Seeing none, we'll go to the public for comment. Fred Coble.
Fred Coble, Solvang, council members. Some thoughts. Yeah, I know we're the lowest. We extract the lowest fee of 4%. But what are the other additional bennies that we get from the city or from Waste Management? Well, I can think of one big one that nobody else is providing, and that is the recycle facility in Buellton. And I assume that's put there by Waste Management. I know the other one is Nielsen's, but I understand there's more than that around town. I wish I knew where they were. Maybe they're closer. So I think the big picture is what's going to happen? And I'm moving a little bit here. It was mentioned, what's going to happen with Tahigas when they didn't site in those buildings correctly? And now it's 120 million. They're forecasting a 50% increase in tipping fees. You know, back about 6 months ago, you on the dais and the staff should have told you that maybe there's a better deal than signing your life away to having everything sent to the Tahigas landfill. You had that opportunity, and it was wasted. And I asked the question that night, does this mean that future city councils can undo this? And the city attorney's answer was no, it's forever. That's what you signed up the ratepayers of this city to, the 5,600 residents. I was very much against it. And now your hands are tied. There's no way to get out of this. It doesn't make me a happy camper.
Thank you, Fred. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I'm looking for the Waste Management guys to be able to come up here.
Mayor Richardson and Council, good evening. My name's Dan Harris. I'm the District Manager for Health Sanitation Services. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity the last 29 years to serve your city. One of the things that we take a lot of pride in, above safety, service, and community support, is going over and above our requirements in the contract. Just this last year, we've added a couple more compressed natural gas trucks to our fleet. So now Solvang is collected by all alternative fuel vehicles. We've added some commercial collection on holidays, on Monday holidays. That was a direct response from a request by the commercial customers. We started food waste collection, commercial food waste collection, as well as residential food waste collection. And we're also setting up an infrastructure that will enable us to collect household hazardous waste by appointment at your doorstep. So that's something we're setting up out of the Buellton yard. So again, we thank you for the last 29 years, and we look forward to more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mike Andrews, Route Manager with Waste Management. I also wanted to thank you guys, the city, the council, and the residents for our relationship since 1988. Like Dan said, safety, customer service are our priorities, like any public service. But also, us as a company, we focus on being better every day, better than the day before. Complacency is just not in our vocabulary. We want to provide the best service, and we strive to do that every day. One of the big things we take pride in is just collaborating with our customers. Dan referenced, knowing the needs of our customers from this long-standing relationship. We were approached numerous times about trash piling up after holidays on holiday week, so we made an adjustment, gave the customers what they wanted. Food waste is exciting. We're very happy to be providing that to the fine residents of Solvang. But lastly, just being out in the community is one of my favorite parts of the job. A lot of sponsorship with the Chamber, Third Wednesday, Danish Days, just about anything that's out there, we like to be involved. And me personally, I love being at a Chamber meeting and getting pulled aside and, if we sponsored it, getting thanked, and then tell Stan, tell George, the driver, they do a great job. Hans Deuce referenced that your team member and your staff, makes your job easier. And, I'm standing up here and I thank my team and thank you for the consideration. We would love to extend our deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else would speak, please?
Yeah, my name's Stan Bray. I'm a driver for here in Solvang, front loader for the commercial side. And I think it's important for you guys to know that these new trucks that they got, when we talk about safety, we have 3 cameras in the back that we can see around with the monitor up front. And Waste Management has put in a lot of time, we watch movies, like first thing when we come in the morning, our first 20 minutes is having a safety meeting, talking about what's happening in Solvang today. Is there car shows? Is there parades? Is there, school just started? They're always safety. And then after that, we have a 15-minute breakdown on our truck. So we have to check every tire, oil leak, the whole 9 yards. So when you see a Waste Management truck, just not here in Solvang, but Santa Maria and around the world, it's safety first. And when you see one of us going down the road, can guarantee you it's a safe driver inside. And I think that's kind of important for the community when you got such a small town, small roads that kids are, running around and there hasn't been no accidents. My wife has a salon here in Solvang. She's been here for 24 years, called Danielle's Hair Design. We spend a lot of our time over here, but unfortunately, like Deuce had brought up, you got to make that money to live in this kind of atmosphere over here. But I live in Lompoc, but I spend my money over here. So I hope that we can continue to do another 20 more years together, or how many years we can get. Thank you for your time.
I have a comment. I want to thank you for spending your money in Solvang. Because my wife is spending our money in Lompoc.
Okay. Well, as long as you guys keep putting out the good beer and the good wine, you're going to see me here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? With that, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Would you like to start, Joni?
Well, I have nothing but praise for Waste Management. When I call and I have a special pickup, they're there when they say they're going to be there. They show up when they're supposed to be there weekly. Sometimes we have very heavy cans. I don't want to admit that. They're probably over the limit, but they take them anyway. It's a first-rate outfit, and I love your trucks. My dog hates them, but I love your trucks because I know you're there. Those are the only comments. And I appreciate the rates. It's a good outfit.
Ryan?
When you talk about the complaints you've been getting, Brad, is that are those pretty much all dealt with, or is there anything that's lingering?
Yeah, on the report they tell how they took care of it. Usually it's maybe a missed pickup, then they'll write when it was picked up on that same report.
So there's nothing we need to address in our current agreement to make sure those are.
Yeah, I didn't see a pattern in there that was something that would be missing in the agreement. No.
Okay.
I really appreciate Waste Management, and I appreciate seeing the portable or the cardboard trash cans around at every event we have in the city. It is so fantastic, and your logo stands out greatly, and that's why I recognize it. And the drivers themselves, I like to wave at them, and they wave back, and we stop and chat every now and again. But people have talked to me about it's time to rebid the project. Now, and this is tough on me because I'm perfectly satisfied with your project, but I'm getting pressure to investigate other possibilities. And it would be easy for me to say, let's go with renewal of the contract. But in order to be fair with our constituents, we've got to at least make an effort to see how well we can continue on with the service. And that's not a stain against you. You guys have done a wonderful job, and it's just that the pressure we're getting to investigate other possibilities. So I would like to suggest that we do set up an ad hoc committee and maybe come up with a solution that is both acceptable to you and to the city. So, Joni, would you join me on an ad hoc committee? Or Brian, either one of you? Since we got this vacant seat here.
Well, I could do that.
Would you? Okay, so Ryan and I will sit down and discuss and maybe even talk with you too, just to see what we can accomplish in going forward. So, and please don't take this as a criticism against your service. It's fantastic. It's been fantastic for all these years that I've lived in this town, and your willingness to go bend over backwards to make sure everything is right. I'm amazed at I go out there by Nielsen's every now and again, and I drive by there and all those cans are empty, and about 20 minutes later I come back and they're full. And you guys are back in or dumping them again and filling them. It's a great service for the city, so and we appreciate that. And we appreciate the fact that you come by and haul large appliances away from the neighborhoods. That in itself is a real benefit to some of us that are getting rid of big old things that we don't need. But with that, we'll sit down as an ad hoc committee and discuss what kind of plans we want to have going forward. And that's the best I can say right now. Smile. Yeah, okay. So we do have constituents that are concerned, and I don't hear any real complaints about your service from anybody, but it's just the fact that we've had this contract on and on and on, and that maybe we need to take another look at it. So with that, thank you. Do you have your marching orders?
So yeah, what I got is an ad hoc committee to look at options.
Right.
Okay.
That's basically it.
So what else, who else does this in our area?
Trash collection?
Marburg.
Yeah, Marburg does.
the only one.
There are others that are
Yeah, it's up in San
too, I
Luis
think.
County, you might have some, but yeah, in Santa Barbara County, our general vicinity would be Marburg or Waste Management.
Okay, where does Marburg dump the garbage?
Tahigas.
Okay.
Thank you all. On to the next agenda item.
Item 8, proposed new special event for October 2017.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Staff report. Thanks a lot, guys. I don't think so. We don't need a motion. We just kind of sign it. We can get together as a. No.
I think if the two of you get together and you talk about this, whether you've
And then we'll
formally
come back
established an ad hoc committee or not, it's permissible under the Brown Act to have the two of you meet together.
And then we can come back with an agenda item to bring our results back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll work with you on getting information that you need for that.
Staff report.
Okay, so as mentioned at the last city council meeting, there's a request in for a new event, Music and Art in the Parks, which would be a new special event for the month of October on Sundays. Solvang has a long history of hosting special events, and for the most part, the events have provided an economic and cultural benefit for Solvang. Residents and business owners have not always been fully supportive of events for a myriad of reasons. In 2007, the City Council approved a special event process that included the attached list of approved annual events and provided directions to staff that new events that wanted to use public property or existing events that wanted to expand their use be brought before the City Council for approval. And it also at that time established a process to charge events for direct city staff time at a reduced rate of $50 an hour, but to continue with only the $125 application fee and not full recovery of staff time that is required to process special event applications. As the number of special events increases, obviously the amount of staff time necessary to process them increases and takes away that staff time from other activities. Historically, special events have been sponsored and organized by nonprofit organizations. We've not had a whole lot of new ones since 2007. I don't know if that's because we set the process up, but this is probably the most. I don't think we've had a new one since Fairy Fest request, and I think there was a beer one at the same time. But we've not had a lot of requests for new events. So, so we did receive this request to add this new event called Music and Art in the Park to the 2017 calendar, and it's an event where it's an opportunity for local artists to sell their wares in Solvang Park, And the dates would be every Sunday in October from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Music would be played in the bandstand from 12 to 2. No alcohol would be served. They would have a food truck there, a local food truck, and no public roads are scheduled to be closed. At this point, they've said 6 to 8 artists would be anticipated to start in this process. And just as a side note, there is a code section in the city code that doesn't allow commercial activity in a Solvang in the parks, and so that's why one of the pieces of the special event application is that approval to do commercial activity within the park. And then I just wanted to note, several years ago, the city did establish a park restoration fee of $125 to help with the additional water and fertilizer used to offset the higher foot traffic on lawn areas in the park. Due to the chamber being a partner in the chamber and city kind of co-oping with the Third Wednesday in concert series, we have not been charging that $125, but there is, we are, with the more and more frequent use, we do see a wear, and you may want to potentially, if you approve this, add that charge to this particular event. So that's really the staff report. Just as I said, the process was to bring this before the council with new events, and the chamber has come up with this event. Staff actually thinks it's a good concept and would be supportive of it.
The question I had is the $125 application fee. Is that the same fee as the park $125?
No, we charge that over and above. So the 125 is just to intake the application, and then we added the 125 if it's an event that's having major foot traffic within the park.
Is that per Sunday?
Well, so typically it's a one time. So say Danish Days are doing the 3 days, they would have the 125. The car show was just there. They had the 125. We've not done it on a multiple. We don't typically have a series of events. So yeah, that'd be up for the council to decide if you want to do 5 times 125 or just the one time.
Or make it less.
Or make it less or not charge it. So.
Do you have an estimate on the kind of hours that are involved? You say we aren't getting fully recovered.
Oh, that in general on special events. So some events take much more staff time than others. I mean, this one's relatively simple, but you take a parade or a car show. Some of those take much more staff time in developing the detour routes and developing the signs for no parking, those types of things. So that was a general comment about special events costing more than the time mentioned.
Do you believe that $125 is adequate for this particular?
For a small event like this, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Tracy, would you like to speak?
Thank you.
We have created a rack card, and we have not gone public with this yet until we have a vote, but we have bands that we have agreements with that we would like to move forward with, and 2 of them twice is our Santa Ynez Valley Jazz Band at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, and that would help them perform, also make money for themselves to go on to other programs and to their camp they want to go to. And you see we have a few other events, and then there's 5 Sundays in the month this month. We do want everyone to buy a permit at $31. We would make sure of that if we were to have them there, an artist. And you see on the back of the rack card, we are promoting ourselves with all of our art galleries and our museums. We really want Solvang to become a destination for art and music, and we think this would help out on the Sundays of keeping people here in Solvang and not going out to the wineries. That's my take on it. And ask any questions, but this right now, it is just the art from 10 to 2 like they have down in Santa Barbara on the walk, and the music would start at 12 o'clock and end promptly at 2, and we would make sure the cleanup was done. And this is what we had proposed, and our partners just left that are sponsoring, and the True Mass have offered to sponsor us too on this event.
That's quite a list of sponsors you have at the bottom.
We have some nice partnerships in this community, and I think the Chamber's doing very good work, and people believe in our partnerships.
Thank you, Tracy.
So,
anything else?
Well, my question is, Do I need a 2-to-1 vote now that we
No,
have?
it has to be three.
Oh, okay.
All three
That
of
was
us.
my question. Okay.
Is there a fee for each merchant that would be at the,
It's a $25 fee.
Okay.
That would cover.
to the chamber?
To the chamber, that would cover the rack card and basically what we're gonna end up paying.
Got it.
And we really wanna kinda keep our costs low because right now we're still, you know, in the hole on this, but we wanna bring new events to town, because there are events, but we want to bring more events to town so people stay in town. And we really need to showcase ourselves as a music and art destination, and we really think that is a way of supporting the art galleries, and we are not charging them to be on the rack card at all. These are just all non-chamber chamber membership that we're supporting our art galleries. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Does anybody in the audience wish to speak on this? You have a speaker slip. Right. It's your turn.
City Council members, Fred Koval. Yeah, there should be a monthly event every month in this town. And for all of the right reasons that we've just heard. But then it's art. I heard art, see, and I thought, oh, it's all going to be paintings, great. But then it was mentioned it's going to be like Santa Barbara, which is arts and crafts. Every kind of thing imaginable can be sold on Sundays along the waterfront in Santa Barbara. So I wonder if there is a list of what are the possibilities. What can be sold? Are they going to be selling necklaces? Are they going to be selling beaded hats? I mean, what is going to, and how many different vendors will there be there on any one Sunday? The times are right, I like it, but the devil's in the details. And I sure would like to hear more about what might be vended. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred. Tracy, would you like to comment on that?
We have not put a call out to vendors, but we have checked with our 2 museums that have artists that are there, from, yes, jewelry artists to painting artists to sculpture artists, to see if they would be interested, and there is a definite interest. We have 2 places. Art House has closed down in the last year due to the rent and other artists. So this is a way of our local artists being able to show their wares. Yes, and we may have different things, but I think 8 is our limit we'd like to have, or 12 at the most is what we want to have. We're not looking to have 85 artists, and I don't think we will. We just want to have some nice artists there that can show their wares.
I think he was asking about crafts too. Are crafts
Well,
included
crafts
in
are
ours?
art. I mean, it's all in the eye of the beholder. What is art and what is a craft art? But yes, we are. We're not going to categorize what it is going to be, but I think time will tell, and I think it will bring people. And I don't think it will impede, if it's a craft art, the people that are going to want to shop in Solvang too.
Do you have anything to say? This is an ugly word sometimes, but T-shirts?
I don't think we'll have T-shirts. I think we're looking more for just craft jewelry artists, things that were at Art House is the artists that we are looking at, and some artists that are at our 2 museums, because that is who we have asked, but we have not put a call out for anybody yet.
Is there a process where you might cancel a particular craft that kind of is offensive? Maybe the second go round, maybe we find out that the first time that they display their wares, there might be offensive or not very well received in the city. You might want to cancel. Would you consider something like that?
I would consider that, but I think art is in the eye of the beholder. One might not be offense to something, and some might be offense to other things if they came to my home.
We see some real wild art out there once in a while. Thank you, Tracy. Is there anyone else to wish to speak? We'll bring it back to the council for action. Joni?
I recommend that we provide direction. We can't just say that we want to do this.
Yeah, you can approve the new event.
Okay, I wish to approve the new event to take place in October.
That's a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jameson?
Yes.
Toussaint?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes, that passes with a 3-0.
Just one clarification, so just the $125 application fee, not the landscape fee? Did I?
We have a
Oh, she's
comment.
coming back. Uh-oh.
We'll be willing to pay the $125 landscape fee because we feel that we've used the park and we feel very generous on what you've done. And I think having our artists will make up for that.
Okay, thank you for that. So that
For every Sunday, Tracy?
No, I thought it was a one-time fee.
Uh,
That's a lot for us. We're just a poor chamber, remember?
You may want to see what kind of capacity they bring. I mean, if it's really just a few, you know, if the limited attendees, it may not be that much of a wear on the
So
park.
there are only going to be 12 artist booth? Is that what you said?
At most.
At most? 12.
You know, the city is not charging for Wednesdays. Well, that's just once a month, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Third Wednesday.
So.
No, the concerts are actually every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Right, every week, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, for my own self, let's give it a shot to see with just a one-time $125, or maybe we can, if $125 for isn't good enough for the month, then maybe sometime we can extend that cost, or
Yeah, if you want to give that direction to staff to monitor it,
yeah,
we can do that.
yeah, let's do that.
So the $125 is for the whole month, or it's just for the one-day event?
I'm hearing start with a 125 and see.
125 for the month.
What about $50 a Sunday? That'd be $250 for this year.
$50
Per Sunday.
per Sunday.
Mm-hmm. So that would be, there are 5 of them, so that'd be $250. That's double the amount.
Did you hear that? $50
$50 a Sunday.
a Sunday.
So that would be a total of
Clean up.
$250. Is that going to break you?
Instead of $125 for
Yeah.
the maintenance?
Right.
Yeah.
I can figure that out somehow in the budget. I'll figure out
Okay.
that. I'll figure that out in the budget. Just buy more raffle tickets at the next mixer, please.
Thank you. So we'll modify the motion to
To
include
charge a
that.
$250
Well,
landscape fee.
Well, yeah, if they get rained out on a Sunday, then
Okay,
we're
so
not
you
going
would
to
like it
then we're
50.
not going to charge them that $50.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that payable at one time, or is that?
We typically would get it up front.
Okay, up front,
Yes,
okay.
but we could make it refundable.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, you've got your marching orders. On to agenda item 9, which is the new
Did we
agenda.
vote? Did we
Thank you,
vote?
Tracy.
Did we vote?
Didn't we vote?
Mm-mm.
We voted? Okay. Okay.
I thought we voted, yeah.
But we changed it. We changed the motion.
Yeah, I asked for clarification, and
Yeah,
that's when the
okay.
landscape fee was brought in.
Okay.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, do you have the specifics, policy regarding that handy?
I have it in an email. If you'll give me just a moment, I can pull that up.
Okay, I have the budget and the CAFR, but not the policy.
Yeah, I can read it. So in your protocols, section 3.6, filling vacancies. If any vacancy should occur for any reason, the position would be offered to the runner-up from the last election. If that individual declines, council would offer position to second runner-up if electoral vote was within 1.5% between the two. If either option is not successful, council would then select through the application process.
Now, is that written in stone?
Well, that's a council protocol that's previously been adopted by the council, so it's not something that you're making up here on the spur of the moment. That's something that the council previously put into place when there was no vacancy pending.
Okay. So we can move on that based on it's a policy?
Well, you could give staff direction to make the inquiry, certainly, because that is the current council policy. But as far as the government code and the city charter, for that matter, there are timelines that are set in place that you have. So you have to you have 60 days from the commencement of the vacancy or 60 days from today to either fill the vacancy by appointment or call a special election to fill the vacancy.
And the policy is that we have now would that be filled by appointment policy?
That would be appointment, yes. So if, for example, under the council protocol, the vacancy has occurred, position is being offered to the runner-up in the last election. If that person says, yes, I am willing to serve, then the council would take formal action to appoint within that 60-day
And
period.
then when do we offer the runner-up?
That's if the first person did not want to serve.
Yeah, when do we offer that individual that was the runner-up on the last election?
Oh, you're talking the runner-up? Well, if you gave direction to the staff to make the inquiry of that person, then you would make the appointment. You could do it at the next meeting, but it just would have to be done within 60 days.
Okay, and the runner-up on that last election is in the audience. And so, do we need to make a motion to direct the staff to inquire, or we can just say do it, inquire?
It's not the agenda item.
Well, the agenda item is to determine how you are going to process the appointment or fill the vacancy. You have to make a determination within 60 days to either do it by appointment, or if you don't do it by appointment, to set a special election. If you're making a determination to do it by appointment, that's the council's direction. Then you give direction to staff, okay, this is the current council protocol. Another option that is open to the council, if the council was wishing to look at it, obviously, is if you were uncomfortable with the council protocol because it's been adopted, then you would put an agenda item on a subsequent meeting to discuss whether or not the council protocol still fits the council's sense. That is certainly an option because the council has adopted that in the past.
Okay. What is your feeling?
I think we should follow the protocol.
What is your feeling?
We did this for a very good reason a number of years ago, because we were in a
We had
dilemma.
that situation occur.
Right.
Yeah. I'm open to it, but I don't know if I want to make a yes or no on that tonight. I think I'd like to get an ear from, everyone else out in the community and what they feel. And I'd also like to see who else might be interested.
So the council could give direction tonight to staff to inquire of the candidate or the runner-up in the election. We can report back at the next meeting, and at that meeting, one of the potential items is the council could appoint, after getting input from the rest of the community as to this particular candidate, assuming she's interested in doing it. If the community says, no, we believe the council should change its protocol, we don't believe that's appropriate, for whatever reason, people come and speak on that matter, you may be swayed, and you're not compelled at that point to make the appointment. You just need to keep in mind the 60-day timeline.
So we can give direction tonight to inquire into that individual.
Correct.
And then come back next meeting as an agenda item to consider that individual or any other individual.
Correct.
Okay. Understood?
Well, you would be setting an appointment process, so then you take applications. So you're
That would be after that individual,
Yes.
after the runner-up.
Because I heard Councilmember Toussaint say, "I'd like to see who else is interested." That's an appointment process where you take applications. So that's, as what it says is, if you did, neither of those wanted it, then you would go through the appointment process. So that's the series of events. But obviously, if you next meeting decide you don't want to do your protocol, you're going to go to an appointment through application, then you would tell staff to take applications, and then you agendize it for another time to discuss those applicants.
Okay.
So in other words, protocols don't mean anything.
Protocols are voted on by a majority of the council. It can be changed by a majority of the council.
Oh, I have them then.
Well, do we need a motion? I understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So what is your direction for the motion?
Well,
To
the
bring
direct-
it
the
to
direction is to follow the
inquire within
protocol.
inquire with the next candidate from the election, and then bring it back
Right,
at the
bring
next
it back
city
to the
council.
agenda item in the following meeting.
And did we have a first and a second on that?
I think so.
I firsted it.
I seconded it.
Okay.
What was the motion again?
The motion is to go forward with the protocol in the council
Oh,
protocol.
I said I wasn't going to vote on that tonight. I want to see, I want to hear what the other options are and what other people feel about.
Okay. Just so we're clear, the direction to staff would be to follow the protocol to bring back at the next meeting information whether that person is willing to serve. You're not making an appointment tonight. You're not presupposing that that person will be appointed. It's just bringing back the information. At that meeting, you would have an opportunity to hear from the public if the public wanted you to follow the protocol and actually appoint the person, or if the public wanted to undertake some other action.
Oh, okay.
So you're not making an appointment tonight at all. All you're doing is you're directing staff to move forward with the protocol to bring back that information at the next meeting.
Got it.
It may be that after you hear from the public, you want to follow the protocol and appoint that person, assuming they're willing to serve. You also might be convinced by the public that the protocol is no longer necessary, or for whatever reason not applicable, and you could give direction to staff to start the application process.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So before we go with the vote, we need to go to the public for comment. Anybody wish to speak toward this item? Karen?
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, managers. I strongly urge you to follow the protocol. I was the runner-up by 5 votes. I'm very interested in the position. It would be a privilege to be able to replace Hans Deuce. Unfortunately, he did resign, but I've been working with the county and various other organizations for a number of years now, and I'm currently on the Board of Architectural Review, and this is a position that I would very, very much like to fill, and I think I could be a benefit to this council, and I would do a very good job. But I do understand that you all need to make this decision very carefully and wisely, so thank you.
Thank you. Brian? Yeah, didn't you raise your hand? No. Oh, Fred. Okay, Fred.
City Council members, Fred Koval. Again, I do not understand why this decision is being made here tonight without the 4th member. He should be given the same opportunity to vote on whether you want to offer this by the protocols that have been in place by past city council members. You're taking that duty, that responsibility away from him, and you shouldn't be doing that. This needs to be agenda-sized for your next meeting, where you can then have even more information on the possibilities, other than what you're hearing here tonight. So I respectfully request that you delay this till the next meeting.
Thank you, Fred. Is there anyone else wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for action. Is there any comments? No comments?
Well, I think just to address what Fred had to say, I just want to clarify, we're not limiting ourselves by moving forward with this tonight. That's what we would talk about the next meeting, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We hope to have 4 council persons.
So I don't think I'm taking anything away from Neil.
No.
By
And the decision can be made then as to how we go forward.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Who made the motion?
I did.
And second?
Yes.
Councilmember Jameson?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes.
Councilmember Toussaint?
Yes.
That passes with a 3-0. Council member reports. None?
No, we
I
have.
I have a SBCAG and APCD reports. But
Let me do mine first before, because you might put us to sleep.
Well, no, just a moment. I'm not prepared to give my reports.
Oh, good. Oh, whew.
I'll make it next meeting.
Okay, Ryan and I attended the last meeting of the Community Services District, and then I attended the one previous to that because he wasn't available. Is that correct, Ryan?
You know, I did get in halfway.
For the first one?
The second one.
Yeah, you were there for the second meeting.
I think I missed the hot action, though.
The Community Services District has been petitioned by the union to unionize their six-man shop. and it was very interesting to sit there and listen to how this all came about. One could tell that the Board of Directors were less than happy with how it had all been presented to them, because they had had the information an adequate amount of time for the regular meeting to have it placed on the agenda if they wanted to do that. I found it a little unsettling that their board was not given very much information about the attorneys, the labor attorneys that they could possibly use. And I think they felt unsettled about it too, but they did decide on an attorney in the second meeting. And so they are going to be going for negotiations to see if the shop wants to become unionized. And I think that the board and staff were shocked. So those are my comments. You may have seen it differently.
No, my memory has grown fuzzy with everything that's gone on, so I'll trust that you reported accurately.
Okay, and then there was another discussion item that keeps coming up, and that's about what the people in Los Olivos are going to do regarding their septic systems and their sewer system, and if they are going to join with community service districts, if they're going to go on their own, or if they expect the city of Solvang to take their waste. So it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Meanwhile, we're just kind of sitting here waiting. That's how I kind of get it. That we're not really a part of any of the action or the comments, the decision.
Los Olivos is tending to go on their own.
There's a group that wants to go on their own, yes.
It's over.
It's over?
Yeah, it's over.
When did they vote?
They've applied to LAFCO.
Oh.
And they had the vote, and it was voted to go ahead forward with the CSD.
So we don't have to worry about them bringing our.
Well, they want to study the possibility of running a sewer line from Los Olivos to Solvang.
Well, see, that's what I mean. We have not even been included in the discussion.
Well, I understand that, but that's part of their thinking. They're also, the thinking is put up a plant in Los Olivos, and they're still considering joining with CSD to process.
So they don't know what they're doing.
No. So they're in the ground floor. You know, they're in the same position in Los Olivos as Solvang was in the early '50s. Is setting up a utility, and then finding out that the utility required to incorporate itself and become a city, and they're in that early stages of doing that, I think. So thank you for your report.
Okay.
And that's it. So we'll go on to the closed session. Want to talk about both items or just the one?
Were you going to consider tabling those two items?
You want to table one of those two items?
We could also see how far we get, and
okay. Then let's go into closed session with both those items, and then a member may recuse themselves or depart the meeting without including it in another part. We'll lose the quorum in that case, yeah. Then we can table it.
So you're tabling both items?
No.
Or you're gonna
try
to
both
start?
items. It may end up tabling it in the closed session.
So the clerk will read those two items then.
Closed session, Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property parcel number 139-211-004, corner of Oak and 2nd Street. Agency representatives Brad Vidro, city manager, negotiating parties Steve Solomon, under negotiation, price and terms, and Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, agency representatives Brad Vidro, city manager, and Sandra Featherson, administrative services director, employee organization Teamsters, local 986.
And we have public comment, Fred.
City Council members, Fred Koval. Yeah, I ran into Steve Solomon a couple of weeks ago while he was getting rid of his weeds on his lot across the street here. And so I asked him, and there was for sale sign, so I asked him, what his asking price is. And he says, oh, he told me that 2 years ago he turned down a bid of $450,000. So the obvious question to him was, what are you asking for today? And this is before I knew anything about tonight's agenda item. He says, oh, $600,000. So I just wanted to know that, let you know that. Just stumbled on him, okay? And we talked for maybe 7-8 minutes. If I may.
Excuse me, Fred. Sorry about that.
Your Alzheimer's kicking in a little bit.
Back up the clock a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah, shut it off. The other thing is, I attended that CSD meeting, the last one. And afterwards, I asked two of the members there, the chair and the one to the left, who were the most knowledgeable, I thought, and I asked them, what happened? And they said, we know what happened. We know why the employees went from happy to wanting to join a union. And they knew they were between a rock and a hard place because they had not been given ample, timely information on reserving consul attorneys for their situation. So there's just a very big feeling of something is going on over there. And it may not be pretty as it finally ends up being. And we also know the history. I asked them, they said they know the history of their manager, where he's worked in the past. I also know that because he came out of the place where my daughter lives. And they know it well. Correct. So then we come here tonight for this negotiation. And I don't know if I mentioned it previously at all or not, but there is a serious conflict of interest here. I've mentioned several times in the past that when it's done over at ID number 1, they have a third party for negotiation for salary increases. That has not been going on here. Why is it an obvious conflict of interest? It's as plain as the nose on your face. Whatever staff negotiates with the union, they automatically get the same increase. Pretty simple. They should not be negotiating. They should not be to go forward here. It's pretty simple. And as you guys act improperly, then you, as city council, are in peril.
Thank you, Fred. One other item. We'd like to add an agenda item to the next agenda, to the next meeting, to consider the membership of the Finance Committee. I'm sorry? It's the stormwater issue that we're considering, and it's felt like that some of us have a more, how do you say, a number crunching mind, and to help resolve the issue of the costs and charges for the wastewater stormwater treatment. The study showed that the only way that it can be paid for is by charging the consumers. And I, for one, believe that that's not the only way. I think that the city might have the funds to handle all that, to handle the finances involved in that, and as an ad hoc committee, or as an ad hoc committee, the finance committee, the ability of Ryan to handle budget numbers has been proven in public, and I'd like to see him work those numbers on the budget and work those numbers regarding our funds, our reserve funds. So that's the thinking behind that. And it's
So it'd move Neil off if he's okay with that.
Oh, okay.
Because I think you're currently on that with Neil, right?
Yeah, I haven't discussed that with Neil personally, but we wanted to. That's why we bring it out in the open to see if what his feeling is about it.
So is there a consensus to bring it back for discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Bring it back
We'll
for
do
discussion. Right. Okay. On to closed session.